Hey everyone, so this is Rosewood Season 2, Episode 1, for Motion and Frat Life. So basically, just to, kind of recap what happened in the Season 1 finale, Hornstock gave up his badge and gun because he had committed this crime years before. Pippi and TMI call off their wedding. Donna explains why she is so happy, but will only give the first name of the man who is making her that way, which I think his name is Gerald. And we had seen her go to the prison to meet him. He's in prison. So then Rosie tells Via that he believes her, or he had believed her husband was murdered, but she doesn't believe him and kicks him out of her house. So that was what happened basically on the season finale. So the episode starts off with a party on this party bus when one guy on the bus seems to be getting kind of, I guess you could say, aggressive with this woman. And she pushes him off, gets off the bus, and decides to go to her place at S2EP blocks away. Tells the driver that the bus of her life for the past 2 months has been, kind of crappy, so the driver offers to listen, but she declines, so she drives to an open parking garage, goes to the top, and somehow ends up on the bottom of a staircase with blood coming out of her head. So elsewhere, Rosie and Pippi, his sister, if you don't know, are at a beach party where Pippi is singing. When she finishes singing, they talk for a bit before the new captain, unbeknownst to Rosie, comes up to them, and they kind of talk for a little bit about this woman that seems to be checking one of the two guys out. Anyways, the next day, Via comes in and sees Hornstock's placard being taken off. She sees that Hornstock has been demoted, and everyone. So basically, he asks what happened between her and Rosie, but she doesn't want to talk about it. She mentions that the new captain starts today. So as Via, waits in the captain's office, Rosie comes in, having gotten news that the new captain will be coming as well. A minute later, the guy from last night that Rosie, was approached by, comes in. His name is Captain Ryan Slade. And I'll most likely be calling him Slade, just calling him by his last name. So Slade tells him of the woman from last night who was found dead in the parking structure. She was 21 years old and a college student. Her name is Cassie. He then tells the pair that they will work together on this case, even though they clearly don't seem to really want to work together right now, or at the moment. And before they leave, Hornstock introduces himself, and then once in the lab, Mitchie comes in, TMI is writing down info on a prisoner. And at that point, I was thinking it was the same person that Donna was, meeting in the season finale. And Mitchie tells TMI that she needs to, get back out there to see if she made the right choice about ending not only her engagement to Pippi, but her relationship with Pippi. And that he tells her that she'll be okay, basically. At the scene of the crime, Slade guesses Cassie was texting, slipped, and fell down the stairs. Via and Rosie tell Slade that she doesn't have any reason to indicate that she tried to break or fall. So they conclude that she was already unconscious when she, went tumbling down the stairs. Excuse me. They go to Cassie's dorm room and then speak to her friend Betsy. Cassie's mom apparently had passed away a few months prior. When she came back from the funeral, she was different. At that point, I was thinking, was the girl sexually assaulted or raped at any point during the around the time of the funeral? That's what I was thinking initially. Then Rosie goes back to the lab where a new receptionist is, and the woman seems very fucking flirty. I really don't like her. I didn't like her right off the bat. I hope they don't keep her. If they do, they better write her as someone who is more tolerable, because I just really didn't like her. I'm sorry, I just didn't. So once actually in the lab, Rosie goes over the body, looking at the bruises, wounds, and gets a sample of her hair to test. A little bit later, he asks Mitchie if he is doing anything differently, and there's this really awkward conversation about Mitchie, using this new musk. I mean, it's just awkward as hell. I'm just like, stop, please. Like, really, stop. Normally, I'm okay with it, but at this point, just like, really, just no. Please, no. Don't do that. Anyway, so they continue taking swabs and stuff when Rosie says that they need a dummy to help recreate the fall and see if they can figure out any new information and everything. And Mitchie says he knows someone who can have one in the lab within an hour, and that's when Via comes in, and she says that she has Cassie's phone records and suspects her phone was broken in the fall down the stairs, and that whoever killed her purposely stomped on it. She also says she thinks she knows why Slade previously had said the case was high profile. Cassie had made 3 phone calls to Mayor Ramon Esparza, or Esparza's office, the day she died, the previous day. So they go to question him. And at the office, Rosie goes all fangirl or fanboy on Esparza, basically. Via then eventually interrupts and asks Esparza knew Cassie, and he said he does. Rosie then asks why she called his office, and he's like, well, maybe it was to ask for some advice. And at this point, I was thinking maybe he slept with her, and possibly got her pregnant, wound up getting her pregnant. Then when she tried to get him to, take care of the baby and her, he killed her. That's what I was thinking at that point. Via then asked if they ever had a physical relationship, and he says no. His wife is like, who said earlier that she wasn't going to go anywhere when someone suggested that they leave the office so that Via and Rose can talk to Esparza. She has this look of shock or confusion or something on her face that makes me suspect her as well. Rosa asked for his whereabouts for the night she died. His secretary says that they will have to check his schedule, but his wife was like, no, we don't have to check his schedule because he was with me. I thought she was lying when she said that, personally. And I thought that the reason she lied was because either she knew her husband killed the girl or she killed the girl herself. So back at the lab, they, experiment with the dummy, and the results they get don't match Cassie's, because Cassie's external injuries indicate she fell down the stairs, but her internal injuries don't indicate that at all. If anything, it looks her insides look worse than her outsides. She was apparently given a worse form of chloroform called, I think, halothane. That's what they said. And TMI suggests that the damage on the inside is because of that. Rosie says that doesn't fit unless she had an allergic reaction to the halothane. And just then Donna walks in. TMI rushes up the stairs to confront Donna about something, and she tells Donna that she got a call that morning from the Daytona Maximum facility about something that she left behind at the prison. Donna lies. I think she seems like she's lying at first, but then she seems to be telling the truth a little bit later. That Gerald says that he's accused of murder, and she believes him when he says that he didn't do it, and that she will tell Pippi and Rosie when she's ready. Back at the station, Via then goes over the suspects, mainly Esparza, and she feels everyone around him is covering up for him, and because it feels like there's something there in regards to him. Rosie then, comes in and says that she most likely was at a nightclub the previous night. Horsock says that they need to look at the bracelet as a clue. They then go to the party bus she was on, and the guy comes out holding a container of bleach. They then question Saul, who is the owner of the party bus, about Cassie, and he says she was on the bus, but she left. He apparently got a scratch on his chest, but it was from a dog, which Rosie thinks is true. He was apparently spanked by one of the guys on the bus or whatever. Anyway, and that he was stiffed by the person who had rented the party bus itself. And basically, they get him to give a description of the guy, and they basically believe that he's telling the truth. Back at the lab, Rosie brings dog cage and other stuff from the bus. Now he does tell Donna is leaving, and Rosie's like, what's going on with Pippi and TMI, and she gives him the runaround on that, and then she asks about the victim, and Rosie tells her about Cassie and everything. Then they find out that Saul's scratch marks were made by a badger and not a dog, and the person who spanked or paddled him or whatever was part of a fraternity that Cassie was attending at a university. So Via drives her and Rosie to the frat house, and before they get out, Via apologizes about the things she said at the end of the season finale, and that he was right about everything, and that she hopes that he forgives her. And then go into the frat house, look for Lane Piven, but he isn't there. And he's trying to sneak out in his car, but as he's backing out, he gets sideswiped by another car. Then back once in the interrogation room, Via's like, Lane, you're gonna go down for murder, but he says he didn't do it. Via then questions, or as Via questions Lane, Slade asks Rosie about what if there was anything wrong with between Via and him, but Rosie pretty much kind of lies. Via then is heard lying by saying that they found a print on Cassie's body that matches to him. So he confesses that he tried to kiss her, but she pushed him away. He also says that she was rubbing sunscreen on her body at night. And so Rosie makes this connection about why the inside of her body doesn't match her outsides. And then back at the lab, Mitchie is like, Cassie is a hemophiliac. And if you don't know what that is, it basically means that your body can't clot your blood properly. And there's different forms of it. I don't remember how many there are, but there's different forms of it. But apparently it's extremely rare in women. I don't know if that's actually true or not. If anybody who is a medical professional is watching this, can you tell me if that's actually true or not? Because I would love to know. Because I'm not a medical professional myself. And they theorize that Cassie must have been recently diagnosed because it doesn't show up in her medical records. Rosie asked if her mother was diagnosed with the same disease, and she wasn't. But by this point, I was thinking that maybe Cassie was either adopted or switched at birth or something like that. There were so many theories going off in my head during this whole episode. Anyway. The animal hair on Cassie's body was not from badger, and it was not alive. It was chemically treated sheep's wool, and Rosie says Lane didn't do it. At the precinct, Via says Cassie was emailing a reporter about meeting that day, the day after she was killed, and that Cassie had an explosive story. Rosie says that they were wrong about the affair, and that Esparza is Cassie's father. Rosie explains as he and Slade are walking to Slade's office that Cassie had a rare form of hemophilia, and that she had to have inherited from at least one of her parents, and since her mother didn't have the disease, she had to have gotten it from her father. Rosie then says that he needs to see Esparza's body to make a definitive diagnosis. Once in Slade's office, Via suggests that the explosive story Cassie was about to spill was being the illegitimate child of Esparza. Hornstock suggests that he questioned Esparza on Esparza's turf when Slade asked who will question Esparza. Via doesn't really like that whole suggestion and offers herself to do it, but Hornstock decides to go do it anyway. And once at Esparza's house, the mayor says he barely knew her, but Hornstock is like, well, secrets have a habit of coming back to bite people in the ass. Hornstock then goes on to say that there's nothing stopping a superstar like Esparza from winding up in that White House, like Obama did, except a media blitz that says he had an extramarital affair and he had a child out of wedlock, which would jeopardize it. Esparza says if they need blood and they pretty much asked if they need blood, and Hornstock says that they don't need it because Cassie had a rare form of hemophilia. Esparza says that Cassie found some letters that were written by Esparza to her mother after her mother had passed away. Esparza goes on to say that he was open to her or to having a relationship with her, but it needed to be kept secret until after the elections, and it appeared that Cassie agreed to do that. But Hornstock reveals that she was talking to a reporter and telling the reporter that she had this story that she wanted to tell. Esparza then becomes confused, and by this point I'm still thinking the wife did it. At this point, and that his wife, had pretended to be Cassie to, I guess, I don't know why she would, pretend to be Cassie, but she, because she pretended to be Cassie so that she could, spill the beans on her husband or something. I guess it doesn't really make much sense, but that's what I was thinking at the time. Hornstock says there were fibers on the rug from the rug on the office floor on Cassie's body, but Esparza says he doesn't know anything about it because he claims he didn't see her the previous day at all. And then Hornstock asks if his wife is still covering up for him, and Esparza was then says that he was with his assistant. This whole conversation Hornstock had recorded on either a tape recorder or his phone or whatever. So back at the station, Hornstock tells them that what he's found out. And after Hornstock leaves, Rosie says they know that Cassie had a paternity test done a few months prior, and that's when her hemophilia was discovered. Via chimes in and says only a handful of people would have known who about her acquiring or inheriting the disease from Esparza, and would know that a push on the stairs would be pretty much fatal to her because of the disease. So Rosie and Via both think they know who the killer is, but they have no proof. So go to this tech guy and have what I thought was a picture being enhanced to find out who the killer was. But later in a conference room, Via, Rosie, Slade, Hornstock, the tech guy, Esparza, and I think Esparza's manager are there, and they reveal the manager killed Cassie because he believed he would destroy Esparza. Or he explains that he believed that, the reason he did it was because he believed that she would destroy Esparza because she refused to be kept quiet. And basically, he didn't realize, they try to make it seem like the manager didn't know that the phone took a picture when he stomped on it. But then Via and Rosie revealed they doctored the photo. Slade then says first Esparza is like, I feel so bad that I didn't get to know Cassie before it was too late. And Slade's like, yeah, you should feel bad. And I'm like, boy, if you don't get your damn life, shut up. Nah. I was fine with Slade up until this point. I was so fine with him up until that point. I was so fine with him until I was so like in sync with him up until that point. But then I was like, he had to say that. I'm like, I won't be surprised if he doesn't last long this entire season. So anyway, so back at the lab, TMI offers to be there for Donna since TMI basically feels like she ran Pippi out by calling off the wedding and their relationship. So she offers to be there for Donna if Donna needs to talk. Pippi isn't seen seeming to be focusing on her music. And so Rosie is then going over Via's late husband's murder when Via comes over. Via comes in, takes 2 photos off the board because she says that they're dead ends. Watch like one of those 2 supposed dead ends are the people, or what are either one or both of those people involved in Eddie's killing. Anyway, so she then gives him a flash drive of everything she knows. She tries to get Rosie to step down because she doesn't want anything to happen to him, but he decides to stop her anyway. So basically that's the whole episode. So let me just, kind of talk about next week's episode, which is called Secrets and Silent Killers. It's looking like this guy killed himself, but Rosie thinks he had help. That's basically all I can really get from the episode that had any, truth, or not truth, but any real things to touch on that had anything to pertain to the case. So basically, my whole thought process is the whole Via and Rosie working on Eddie's murder is going to be an entire season-long episode, or season-long plot point that goes along with, the every single week murder mystery that they have to figure out. So I think this, my theory is that we won't find out who Eddie's killer is until either but at least by, because we're either gonna find out who Eddie's killer is either before the winter break, after the winter break, or just before the season finale. And the season finale is gonna be all about Eddie's murder and trying to, get the killer off the streets and everything, whether he's killed or arrested or whatever. So that's my theory on the whole season-long thing, that whole storyline, because I can't really make predictions for next week's episode because, they really didn't give you much of anything. So to make any, predictions on that. So I'm just gonna stick with the Eddie's murder and see, stick with that for this episode anyway. And that's my thought, is that we're gonna, at the earliest, we're gonna hear about, because the earliest that we're gonna hear about Eddie's murderer is either right before the winter break, they take a hiatus, or right after they come back from a hiatus. That is my theory, is that that's when they're going to reveal to us at the earliest when who Eddie's killer most likely is. Now, whether or not they actually do anything about the killer, that is probably going to be until the season finale. That's what I'm thinking. So, and honestly, I'll be surprised if, they reveal, capture, or kill Eddie's killer by the hiatus. But by the time they go on hiatus. I'll be, kind of surprised if they do that before the hiatus. So anyway, that's the whole episode and my predictions on the long term. Since I can't really do any predictions on next week's episode. So hit like if you like this episode or like this video. Don't hesitate to talk about this episode and future episodes or my predictions next week about Eddie's murder in the comments below. I'll like always I'll link my Instagram and Patreon in the description box below. And I will see you guys next week on Rosewood. Bye.